Welcome to the Resellers Niche podcast, a show for e-commerce buyers and sellers where we investigate unique categories of items being bought and sold and show how research equals knowledge equals profit. And now your hosts, Russ and Mo.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Reseller Niche podcast. I'm here with Russ Lee. How's the weather over there, Russ?
It's wet today, Mo. How about in California?
It's starting to heat up again. I think it was about 87, and we're going to have thunderstorms tomorrow, which is interesting. We don't really get those around here.
That's 87. That's like evening here in the South. But that is hot for you guys.
It is. I've got my window open, so hopefully you won't hear any cars going by.
There we go. What, Mo, you've got a great topic for today. Tell us about it.
Sure. Well, quite simply put, our topic for today is reselling a scam? We kind of wanted to touch, I've been talking to and listening to a lot of people that aren't sellers or are kind of pseudo sellers. Maybe they sell in other areas. It's more a job for them, not really like us, eBay, Amazon, Etsy type sellers. And I was getting a lot of interesting comments that not towards me, but those people were getting. And I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit and talk about it because reselling as we know it, we think of eBay, Amazon, and we kind of think of it from a seller's perspective, like our side. And I think we kind of get in a little bubble. So I wanted to kind of break that and maybe play devil's advocate. We can kind of go back and forth and discuss the ins and outs of, is this a scam? Are we doing something that's beneficial for everybody or not? So,
well, look. Let's go way back. Let's look at the history of reselling. We kind of talked pre-show a little bit, but think about the history of reselling, and Marco Polo came to mind.
Okay, going way back.
Way back, right? Let's go. What did he do? He found a trade route, and he brought spices back from the Orient to the European continent and European. So, in a sense, he was reselling.
Exactly. He was.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say that, and to be honest, if you're really going to go back that far, you could go back 1,000, 2,000 years before him, the traders that came before him, because he was kind of revolutionary in the sense that, how far out he went to the different places he went. But, if you're really talking about the very basic elements of reselling, you could go back to like biblical time. Before biblical times,
since trade is created,
exactly.
Since items were built, or the first table was built and sold after the person didn't need it, or traded,
exactly.
Before currency. So it's been around a time or two. It's not the oldest profession, of course. but it's been around. And if you think of, people, I looked at it one time, I thought reselling, pretty much every large company that has retail, they're reselling. They're not I is a reseller.
Exactly. I guess we're coming forward a bit, but if you let's just talk about Walmart, because we can, pretty much everyone here has been to a Walmart or at least heard of one. If you want to go back to, I want to say the early 80s, maybe a little bit before that, they weren't what they are today. But in terms of, taking a place in the market, the way they've done it, a lot of people were kind of angry at them in the same way that you're seeing the kind of people looking at people like Amazon now.
Right.
Back in the I don't know if it was the 70s or the 80s.
It was the 80s when they really started taking over. 90s more so when they really started attacking every town and getting rid of. You're thinking about the anger and the backlash towards the small mom and pop.
Exactly. So your local, shoe cobbler, your local drugstore, your local
hardware store.
Exactly.
Right. And you saw that backlash from that, and they lost. And so kind of the same way, they were resellers, and they were not looked upon too greatly in some cities. Of the chances that you and I just sitting at home and trying to do reselling. Back, and we've talked about this, back 20, 30 years ago, before Amazon, before eBay, there was no, it was a ton of work to resell. You either had to have garage sales, you had to have, websites came in the 90s, you could do some reselling on. Before that, the only mass reselling that you had was to go to flea markets.
Exactly.
Be a seller at a flea market.
And what I meant a little bit earlier about two different distinctions of what I was going to make is that you got on the one hand, I guess I'm talking about the mentality of somebody that doesn't like what we do. One, you've got a bigger group of people, i.e. a Walmart and Amazon coming in with more money, more everything, and taking over or buying out this, that, and the other. The other thing is buying something for a cheaper price, selling it for more. So I think the people are, and I think I'm going a little bit away from what you were talking about right there, but it's kind of interesting because I think I'll take you back to the reason I'm coming up with the topic in the first place. I was in a Goodwill, I want to say a few weeks back, and the people, there were two people talking about just items, just one random item. And then there was one guy that I think he was a reseller. So he was picking up he had a shirt, he had a couple of shirts. And then one of the, I guess the person behind him was saying, "Oh, are you going to take all of those?" So I guess it's the same story you probably heard before plenty of times. Long story short, she got annoyed saying, "You shouldn't be doing that type of thing. This is for, underprivileged people to, buy." And then he wasn't rude about it or anything. To be honest, he put one back. He had like a stack of, 5 shirts, I think. So that's where it came from. So you go ahead though. Sorry. I hope I didn't.
No. And I think we've all seen that situation or been in that situation, or, you go to a garage sale and somebody asks, "Well, what are you going to do with that?"
Yeah.
What we've talked about, some of the odd things we've bought. I think when Jason was on, he was talking, Jason T. Smith, he always kind of promotes about bras. Yeah. Well, you see me out at a garage sale buying a bra, it's odd to them. What do you, yeah, it's odd. What are you going to do with that? So if you tell them, "Well, I'm going to put it on Amazon or eBay and sell it and make good money," some people get upset at that.
Yes.
So, you can say, now other times if I'm buying a bunch from them, I'll say, "I'm a reseller. I'm going to buy out a bunch of your stuff, or I'm going to do it." So there's the time where you can use it. But right, people get upset at that. And if you remember a few years ago, man, you couldn't tell a thrift store you were a reseller.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Yeah. Now they've grabbed it and loved it, but you couldn't tell that you were a reseller. They would get angry at you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think Goodwill is always the first, and they were the first to get a little bit annoyed at people, I think. And they're also the first to kind of adopt, like, okay, this is a group of people that's going to continue to buy from us. This is a revenue source. We should take advantage of it.
Who doesn't want repeat buyers?
Exactly.
And if you're a retail operation, you want repeat buyers. And so, so that aspect, and that one person's perspective of, well, this is for people in need or people in that, but the economy of the first store is they make money and they hopefully disperse it out to those in need.
Yeah.
Some are for profit and some are not. But even a garage sale, you never know what that person's needing or why. Most garage sales you go to, they're just getting rid of stuff.
Yep.
But you could be going to a garage sale that person needs to keep their electricity on.
That's true. That's true.
So you're buying.
I've been to a few garage sales where I don't know if you've been to garage sales where they're resellers. Those are interesting too, because you have similar conversations, but it's kind of maybe like, I don't know, prices are more fixed, or it's a kind of a different attitude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a little different. Did you do many garage sales back in like 2008, in that 2007, 2008 era?
Not really as many, no.
That's when I was in Savannah, Georgia. Me and my wife, we had just gotten together, and we both moved there and purged. So we had to put a household together. So we did it through garage sales. And, those stories back then, people were having garage sales to try to keep their home.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So there was that aspect of it. So, it's just the whole idea. So to that person, I'd go in and buy, and if I resold it or not, they don't care.
Exactly.
So is it on that? So, there are, this goes back years upon years. I had family that, they were big farmers back in Nebraska, and they, from the Depression era, they kept everything.
Yeah.
And he had two 1941 Chevys sitting in his yard, basically. And my father would tell it was my mother's side of the family, but my father would go up and say to my uncle, let me buy one of these. Don't let it rot in the field. Just let me buy one. And he'd say, all you're going to do is take it to the city and sell it and make money. So there's that mentality too. Yeah. Sometimes you're just going to take this and sell it and make more money.
Yeah.
Or so there are people out there that's what they believe.
Yep.
And can you get through to those people?
I'd say yes and no. I'll give you kind of a different piece of my past life. I was in the reselling business, but it was reselling shipping. So if you want to really get people annoyed, try and upsell shipping, because that's all I did. There was no item. I was taking their item, adding money on top of it. So
right.
There's reselling everywhere. And what we used to do, what they used to tell us was they had to spiel about how we would go about things. And the price of the shipping was always the last thing. It was like the package, you're providing a service, you're doing this, you're taking something that they can't do, packaging and insurance and whatnot. And the very last thing was the price. And it would be bundled in with everything else. And that's kind of what you get at the UPS store, basically. But there would be times where, like even now, like if you were to say, usually when it comes to items the price of, somebody will say, well, I can get that at Walmart for $20 or whatever like this. So in our case, it'd be, I'd have people ask me point blank, you're charging me, let's say $40 to overnight that. How much does it cost you? And I just think it's always a case of perspective when you get this kind of question, because I don't know if it's just resellers or like we were very small, basically an independent store. I don't know if I was behind the counter at a Walmart selling UPS shipping or whatever, if they would have that same question or not.
Well, are you behind the counter at the Walmart and at the meat counter and going, well, okay, I want to say $2 a pound, but I know there's no $2 a pound meat anymore.
Yep.
Ham, $8.99 a pound or whatever.
Yep.
Well, how much is it going to cost you?
Yeah. It sounds ridiculous, right?
It does.
I heard that question over and over. I remember there was this one guy came in a suit, real nice car, real nice suit. It was like 4:45, so our overnight pickup was about to happen. He had a letter, check or something. Said, I need to overnight this to, the other coast. I said, yeah, it's very simple. We typed it up and then I gave him a price. I think the cost was like $35 or something like that. And he's all, he said, my cost is $18 or something like that. And I said, excuse me? He's all, I don't have my account on me, but my cost is $18. What can you do? And I was kind of half amused by the way he approached it, because he wasn't angry. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, that's how we see things now. I mean, I had to explain to them that, sorry, we have to make a profit. And and then eventually he did it.
Apologetic for profit. When did that become that we have to do that, right?
Yeah.
That you're going to use my service.
Yeah.
And then make me apologize for charge. Try that to a plumber when your bathroom's down.
Exactly. He'll walk right out the door.
It walk right out the door. But yet negotiating is something. I want to stop real quick and say about, you said you were reselling and upselling. If you think about it, every person that works for an employer is reselling something.
Exactly.
They're reselling either their physical ability through, like if it's manufacturing work,
yep,
or their knowledge if it's office work.
Yep.
They're reselling that knowledge most people think it's time.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's that knowledge. So even an employee is a reseller.
Yep.
It's the trade.
Absolutely.
They're basically trading that company, your knowledge, your abilities for currency.
Yep, and that's actually what they would tell us. They would tell us when we would go to these like yearly conferences, and then the first thing they would talk about time. Actually, they'd say, "What is your time worth to you?" And the X amount. And they'd say, somebody put up $20, somebody put up $100, and usually it would be somewhere in between. And then they would always talk about, because it was almost as if shipping was a dirty word in my, because it was like, just imagine, like, I want to say I got used to it. To be honest, I never really thought about this until now. I want to say we didn't even have many people coming through the door, but I want to say at least once or twice a week, maybe more than that, you'd have somebody come in, ask a price, and get angry and just walk out the door. There wouldn't even be a response. It'd be like, how much?
How much? And they leave, right?
They walk out. And you get used to that. And then, so the corporate level, they'd always tell us, you are not, they always kind of quote like the Ray Kroc thing. I'm in the real estate business. I'm not in the hamburger business for McDonald's. They like, you're not in the shipping business. You're in the convenience business. Your job is to provide a convenient service for someone. Now, if they're willing to pay that or not, that's up to them. But you're not providing shipping. You're not providing packing. You're not providing any of these things. You're providing the ability to provide this.
That's a good way to kind of look at, we've talked about that. I know a lot of other resellers on podcasts and YouTube have talked about that too, is one, time is money. The old Ben Franklin thing, time is money. How much are you worth? You want to raise it takes the same amount of time as it is to list a $3 item than it does a $300 item.
Yeah.
So time is money. And then service. I spend hours upon hours going out because, one, I enjoy it. Yeah. Two, I like to hunt. But I find the things out there that people want.
Yeah.
And the guy sitting at his desk or sitting at, not at desk, I'm so old school sometimes when I think, but today they're looking on their phone and they say, I'm looking for, take something that sold recently, a 1970s women's Air Force hat.
Okay.
She's looking for it. I happen to have it listed. I provided a service for her.
Yep.
And we came to a fair market, a fair consensus market. Yep. If I had it at $100 and she paid $100, it's worth $100 to her.
Yep.
Because there were no comps on a 1970s women's Air Force hat. So I had a price. She offered me, and I accepted. We came to a consensus for my service.
Okay, and let's just take that same scenario, and let's just say it wasn't like a vintage item. Let's say it was a 2017 snapback hat that said, I don't know, In-N-Out Burger on it, something very generic.
Right.
And there's thousands, millions of these things, and that same person came in and you were selling it for $19.95, and the street rate is $18.95. And then that person said, you know what, I can go down to, Bob's House of Hats over there and get them for $18.95. I mean, would you, my question is, I don't think that would happen if you were sitting in like a Walmart or something like that, but because you're an individual with an individual store, and because I'm talking about a non-vintage item here, I'm kind of changing your scenario here. I think people will. That's where the idea of like oh, you're scamming me comes in. So I think it's not only that you're upping a price possibly, or you're selling it at whatever price you think is fair, but it's the fact that you're an individual, or you're seen as an individual, like on eBay or Amazon. Maybe not Amazon as much, but eBay or Etsy, as opposed to walking to Best Buy or walking to Walmart or something like that. Do you think that's part of it also? Kind of like we're seen as individuals?
Absolutely. Individuals, you think about it on Craigslist and Facebook too.
Yeah.
How many things have you seen posted on Facebook? It's an item. They post it for a decent price. Yeah. And the first comment is, what's your bottom dollar on it? So it's all individuals. It's based that now, and that's negotiating, coming to that consensus is something fairly new to our culture.
That's true. That is true.
On a scale of this, we would not negotiate at a store. We would not negotiate buying tires. Okay. But if somebody's selling something, we do negotiate. And that's, if somebody's selling a car, we negotiate, either if it's a car dealer or an individual.
Yep.
You walk right in and start negotiating on a brand new vehicle.
That's right. That's
so
right.
There's things that have always been negotiated, and those things that were never negotiated.
You think those walls are breaking down a little bit now, or?
Absolutely. I think everything is negotiable.
Pretty
and when
much,
you say walk into a store, try it next time. Walk into a store, not a Walmart as much, but say the last time it happened to me was a friend of mine stopped at the Kirtland's. No, it was a Hobby Lobby. And he goes, I really like that Disney picture. And I said, well, let's go grab the manager. It was like $15. And I asked the manager, I said, what's the best price you can give me on this? And the manager said, you know what? We got half off on some stuff. I'll give you half off. Nice. And my buddy's mouth dropped open. Because he said, I never thought you could negotiate it at big box stores or something like that. I've done that at Best Buy. Is Best Buy still around?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. I did it at Best Buy at Christmas time. And I used the pawn shop stuff. Hey, I'll give you 20 for this, out the door. And the guy went, okay. It was listed for like 26 with tax. So it's happening and it's opening up, but you're right. The walls are coming down on that.
I think you're totally right though about, sorry to cut you off. I think you're completely right about, I think maybe, I don't know, the American marketplace is kind of slow to come to this. Maybe things like eBay and Craigslist have kind of brought that about, because I remember, when was it? I think we were in Hong Kong. This is 10 years ago. And I was there with my father-in-law, and he went to buy a hammer just at a tiny little store. And he just walked in there. But the funny thing is, it was almost as if the guy behind the counter expected a negotiation. It was, I don't know what the price was. It was like, 20 Hong Kong dollars. He's all, I'll give you 10. Like immediate. It was like the first, right off the bat. And then the guy looked at him and said 12, and it was done. Boom, boom. It's like expected.
And he didn't, how many times you gotten lowball offers on something on eBay and you get offended?
Yeah.
But,
I'm guilty of that.
And Chris over at 10K on the Bay has that greatest approach to it. Don't get offended. You've got somebody that's interested in your item. Let's start negotiating.
Yeah.
You may sell an item.
Yep.
So, the American culture has always been kind of negotiate on a few things, but we just pay the price, or you just politely say no or say, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
So, it's opened up on a few things. So some of that, going back to being it a scam, maybe it's because it is kind of new in our culture that everything is negotiable.
I think we have these big ideas. I mean, not big ideas, but like, how would I describe it? The idea of certain goods was advertised to us so well, like, you pay this for this item, and it's like set in stone almost. And the idea that someone's going to come and say, well, I'll give you 50 cents on the dollar for that, or whatever it is. It's kind of,
yeah. Wait a second. No, that's my price. Can you imagine getting into negotiating on a job interview?
oh, that would be weird.
Where you say, okay, I like to make $42,000 a year, and the guy goes, I'd like to start you out at 20. He lowballs you on a job offer. You'd go, wait a second. Nah, well, how about 32? Wait a minute. No, I want 40. So there's areas like that you think it'd be obscure, but
oh yeah, and I think it's actually it's happening in a reverse way now. Like, where were we at a Honda dealership? I want to say 2 years ago, and as soon as you walk in, like they can see you walking around the lot, and then you walk in. Within the first 20 seconds,
they can see you when you pull up.
Yeah, yeah. So they knew us when we were down the road. I'm sure.
Yeah, they're coming. Here they are.
But within 30 seconds, the guy said, "I need to tell you that the price that's on the sticker is the lowest we can go." And I thought, okay, this is just his spiel. I've heard this same thing at multiple Honda dealers. I don't know if this is just a new thing or they're trying out or what. But what they do is they'll say, you know what, I can take, and it will be a minimal that they'll take off. Like it would say, $25,000, $24,500 is the best we can do, and then that's all we can do. And they're telling me that immediately. As soon as I walk in the door. So I'm like, I didn't even ask you anything. I mean, okay.
Well, the old thing about he who says the number first, is the loser.
Yeah.
Well, if we open up this market to everything's negotiable. We turn it on. He who speaks first can be the winner.
Yeah.
They're setting it, and they're also programming. At that point, they're doing a mind program. Yeah, we can't go any lower.
Exactly.
So he's told you. He's setting you up for not negotiating. That's a sales ploy.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty smart. It took me by surprise because I guess they get car salesmen. They're used to getting hammered, but I mean.
Well, think of it this way. On just look at eBay. We have that on eBay without when you don't put a best offer option.
Yeah,
this is my price. This is as low as I'm going.
Yep.
And I've had items like that, but then people will still send you a message.
Yep.
And you either start negotiating or you turn them down. But same way, this is it. I'm not taking best offer on anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I had somebody was asking me, I think about priority mail on a T-shirt the other day, and I think I had it listed at the shipping. He was talking about the shipping specifically, and I think the shipping. I think I had it listed at like $6, which is basically the price for priority mail. So I said, well, that's the lowest. Well, we can't go any lower. I mean, unless it's like media mail, but this is a T-shirt. And no response. That was it. So, I mean, people would try, I guess. But, I mean.
Yeah, you can't blame those ads because that's what we learn when we're sourcing.
Yep.
To ask. And I don't get offended at lowball offers because when I'm out in the field buying, I will lowball you in a heartbeat.
Yes. That's the first thing I'm thinking. To be honest, I naturally think of half. If I see something like any thrift store, I'm naturally thinking, if I ask them if I can buy all of these, and then if it's say $4 a piece, I'll say, can I take all these for $1 a piece? Right. And hope they say $2, just so I'll say, all right, cool, $2 is good.
Yeah, cool, take it. Now I did run into an estate sale last weekend that was ran very well. What they did was on Friday they had their prices. On Saturday it was 50% off the price. And on Sunday, it was 75% off the price.
Okay.
And I found a hard body camera, which I was excited about, same model I've sold before. And it had $20 on it. So I kind of milled around and listened to people say, would you take 10 for this? And the guy's answer was, no, I'm sorry. Tomorrow is 50% off sale. If you want to put it back and maybe it'll be there tomorrow, then I can take 10.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting approach of doing it. And people ended up buying it. I bought the camera for 20.
He's taking the pressure off himself by doing that. He's got an answer. It's like, well, this is actually what the deal is.
Here's the deal. Either buy it or wait till tomorrow and it's 50% off, and it may not be here for that price.
So I guess this kind of brings me into a segue, I guess, pretty well. It sounds to me like, we're talking about reselling as a scam, or is reselling a scam, I should say. It sounds like a question of perception, relative to, one, the guy could just be trying to lowball you. But on the other hand, I have heard people getting really upset. Like if they see you in a garage sale with 20 items, they expect you to give them a deal. They see you behind the counter at a Walmart, they're not going to ask. So is it a question of perspective? Perception,
and one of our 3 keywords, knowledge.
Okay, definitely.
What is that person doing? Look at the bigger picture of an item.
Yep.
If you or I find it at a thrift store, we could be saving it from the landfill.
That's true.
If we find that item, maybe like that Air Force hat, that person has been looking for one for years that fits her size.
Yep.
So we've saved that item from the landfill. It kind of goes into what we've talked about before is branding or brand name stuff. Again, their perception of resellers is not too well.
Yeah.
That's why Nike is now dealing directly with, or Amazon and Nike are now dealing directly.
Yeah.
They definitely have cut out the resellers.
Yeah.
If you're a brand name, if you're Ralph Lauren Polo, you make a great product, so it can be resold, but you really want people buying new.
Yes, definitely.
They want new, and that's where the programming and the branding comes in. And again, perception. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Like a lot of these brands, they give away, I think, who was it that was talking about? Was it Filson or one? A lot of these brands will say 100% guaranteed, and they really mean it. Like if you were to buy that literally at a thrift store, I've heard people say, "Oh, if you see that there, send it in. They'll send you a new one." That type of thing.
Tupperware, Craftsman, if you can find a Sears store, Yeah, those 100%, even if it's sold 100 times, resold and resold. So
people used to do that with Apple products. So I forget which item it was, but I think they stopped it this year. If you could get, I don't know if it was the old iPods or the iPhones, they would send them in.
Or the iPods,
yeah, they would send them in. They'd find them broken, send them in, and get a new one.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess, it is, I think, down to perspective and the idea that, because I've had people, and I'm sure you've got this email too on eBay, and it could just be people phishing, but like an email that doesn't even ask a question. It has a statement. It says something like, your item is, $50. I can buy this for $25 at Walmart. And it doesn't even say anything else. It doesn't say, can I, or would you do this, or nothing else. That's it.
Those are the ones that their perspective is off, Mo.
Yeah.
And I see that more so local sales, where people say, and they may have the question, I can get this on eBay, or I can do both sides. How many garage sales you've been to where they've got the eBay printouts of their item?
Yeah.
This is going for $50 on eBay. And so if I look at it and it's a viable option, I look at it, well, you want 45, it's going for 50 on eBay. eBay gives me a guarantee.
Exactly.
eBay sends it right to my door, back to that service part.
Yep. So, exactly.
Yeah. And same way on the buyer's perspective on local. I do see that where these are brand new at Walmart for 50. Well, drive to Walmart. I'm willing to meet you halfway. So, but is it, something we haven't brought into the mix is how many scams are out there.
There's got to be some. There's got to be a lot.
Think about what's hit the news. People are leery and kind of on guard more so today, and they should be.
Yeah. Because
of we all have gotten we've got 10 million in the bank with your name on it.
Yeah.
With what they call it,
the prince over in the prince is over there.
Nigerian prince scam.
Yep.
We've all got those, and some people have fell for them, sadly. And there's all sorts of scams. You get into how con men work. It's absolutely they're called confidence men. They gain your confidence.
Yeah.
So you know that aspect of it. So people are kind of leery, and they think, well, is this guy scamming me?
Yeah, you can't blame them.
You can't, in a sense. So you can. And how many times have you seen on boards through people complaining, sellers that are on eBay, new sellers, older sellers, it doesn't matter. Say, this person's asking for a return. They're trying to scam me.
Oh, yeah.
In a sense, so should we change the topic of the things, or are all people that have returns, are they scammers?
That's true. That's true. I mean, it really is down to perspective and individual circumstance. And I mean, maybe this is just an ongoing thing. I mean, it's probably only going to get a little bit more interesting too, as more reselling it's basically in its infancy. So the more we get people buying online, the more you're going to see of this kind of stuff.
The more, and also where you and I and Chris, 10K on the Bay, have talked about, is where selling is moving to.
Yeah.
Is where it's the personal brand, you know, or the personal, this is my Instagram, this is me, I'm Russ, and you can buy from me, become my friend first. Yeah. And then because that's where it's all moving to. Yeah. And we've seen that aspect of it. And so it goes back full circle back to, who do you buy from? Exactly. In sales class, who do you like to, they teach you. They buy, you buy from your friends. So connect with them, be their friend. So it's kind of a way to counteract that.
That's right. And I guess
scammers will get weeded out quick.
Yeah. I mean, that's a short-term game, if you will. Right. Those kind of scams. I mean, I guess you can't blame brands either, especially nowadays, defending themselves in the sense that, they want a new item sold, especially if it's like, electronics or something like that that has a warranty or something. You can't really blame them for saying, you know what, we want to know who the people are that are behind our items, because we're behind our items. So, I mean, absolutely, especially those ones that back it, because that's right. And that's a tough area to control. Would be an extremely tough area to control, even 80-90%, wouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, they're never going to eliminate it. I mean, Amazon does a pretty good job of starting to with branding, but elimination, no. I mean, there's too many avenues to buy and sell stuff. And eBay's kind of doing the same thing with, they limit new sellers. Yeah, with big certain time brands now. Yeah, and they have their Vero, and then they have, you can't use X, Y, Z keywords, and then so it still gets by. Yeah, you'll still see them. It doesn't mean they don't have they say they don't have the ability to watch every listing. That would be tough. Well, that's where they get Watson. Isn't that computer's name? Yeah, that's the Microsoft thing. But yeah, get Watson to watch eBay for them. So then our fees would go. Yeah, what would our fees be then, Mo? Well, it would be MS eBay if that's the case, and then our fees would go up a little bit. 20%. Yeah, it's good that we talk about these things, because this is knowledge that needs to get out. Yeah. I mean, it's perspective. And what I meant by this was to see it from everyone's perspective, the brand owner, that guy that just wants to come in and get that one item and doesn't understand why you charge $5 more than he saw it for listed somewhere else. I guess it's just a question of accepting it in our case, and kind of moving forward. Accepting it, and also trying to share. Okay, for example, the guy that came, the people that walked away from your store. Yeah. When you had the shipping store, and they just said, how much, and walked away. Yeah. Okay. To them, their time was not worth the money to do, because they were going to take their item, go someplace else in California traffic, maybe spend another 3-4 gallons in gas. An hour in time. So that's where you kind of, the sales part of it comes in, where you say,
Well, this is a service, and okay, you can go down the street and
Exactly.
fight traffic. Yeah.
Because
So,
a side note here, but we would get that. Forget about an overnight. We would get that for people with copies with stamps, because I think we would add 2 cents on a stamp or something like that. So instead of, I don't know what they are now, 46 cents, 44 cents. So it'd be like 48 cents, and they'd say what? Like a copy would be, I think we charge 12 cents or 10 cents. And say, oh, it's 5 cents down the street. I'm like,
and
so you're never gonna.
You wanted to go down. Then if you're willing to go down the street, go down the street.
Exactly.
And you want to keep your customers happy. But perspective, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, it's like, it's laughable sometimes, but I mean, so I guess their synopsis of this is reselling a scam? Yes and no. I mean, and it's always going to be that way.
It's always going to be that way, because there's always going to be the perceptions of that. We're never going to change the mind of that person that was at that store.
Nope,
or
never.
we may never be able to change that person's mind.
Yeah. I remember one thing they would always tell us is that, I forget, they threw out a percentage, like 20% of the people who walk in there were never actually going to do anything anyway. They weren't going to purchase shipping. They were just in there. Maybe they were just next door looking at something. Maybe they were just inquiring. So don't feel bad. To be honest, after a while, like I said, you don't even notice it.
Yeah. You try to take care of your customers first.
Yeah. So you smile, you say this is what it is, you help them out as much as you can, but at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do.
I had my times where I would say, no, I can get that copier back down the street, when I didn't understand how my time was valuable.
Oh, I've done that before. I remember myself personally trying to ship a computer. This is when I was in high school, I think. And then I think they quoted me like $70 or something like that. They were going to pack it. They were going to ship it across the country and all this stuff. And I got angry at the guy. So I can totally see why somebody would get angry at me.
No, I think that's hilarious, because when you said high school ship a computer.
Yeah. You wouldn't know. This is the tower. I was shipping the tower.
Right. So you
wouldn't even do that anymore.
Well, and then I take it back. My high school shipping a computer was a truck. Because the computers were the size of houses back then.
Oh man, is it like in war games where they had those rooms full of those?
Pretty much,
Nice.
My first career was in the IBM mid range, and they literally had to get a truck to unload those things, and they're half the size of a bathroom, but still, yeah. I need this computer moved across, and today a computer move across. What, $30 because we think his computer is a little laptop.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So again, what was perspective?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is all comes down perspective completely. Yeah. So I think we're pretty good. So I want to thank everyone for listening to us. If it's on iTunes or on the podcast somewhere, or if you're watching on YouTube, we'll be back again talking about some other stuff. And if you could check us out at the Reseller Niche Facebook group, and then ourselves, we're also on Instagram. You can check us out at Niche Reseller and The Roaming Pickers. Russ is over there. And until the next one, you guys have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Reseller Niche podcast. Show notes and social media links are located at resellerniche.com. Please like and subscribe to us on iTunes.